The champagne was flowing, laughter echoing through that fancy hall I'd forked over a small fortune for. It was my daughter's wedding, and I'm watching her, my Emily, dancing with her new husband, James. My heart was supposed to be bursting with pride, and for a second it was. But then she leaned in to whisper something to him, her sparkly dress shining under them lights. That's when I heard the words that made my blood run cold. They floated right over the music, clear as day. "We'll put her in a home soon as the trust pays out." I felt all the color drain from my face. The whole room started spinning. I just held my breath, forced a smile, and clapped along with everybody else. They thought I was just another proud, teary-eyed mother. They had no idea I'd just declared a silent war. My late husband, Robert, wasn't a cold man, but he was practical. He saw the world in assets and liabilities. "Protect what's yours," he used to say, especially from folks who think they're entitled to it. When he passed, he left me real comfortable under the Miller Family Trust. He built it like a fortress, designed to keep me set for the rest of my days. After I was gone, the remainder, a whole lot of money, would go to our only daughter, Emily. I loved that girl with every piece of me. I paid for her fancy college degree. I gave her a big down payment on the condo she shared with James. And of course, I wrote the check for this picture-perfect wedding without blinking. I thought of it as a mother's love. They clearly saw it as a down payment on their inheritance. But what they didn't know, 'cause they never bothered to ask, was that Robert had included a special clause, a secret master key to the whole fortress. It gave me, as the trustee, total power to use that money for my own well-being, maintenance, and comfort. They were so focused on the treasure at the end of the map, they never bothered to read the map itself. Back at the reception, the band kept playing. I just sipped my water. Suddenly, the champagne on the table looked like poison. I watched them work the room. Emily, my beautiful, charming daughter, and James, her handsome, ambitious husband. They looked like the perfect couple. To me, they looked like a pair of vultures circling. James wrapped his arm round Emily's waist, whispered something in her ear, and she laughed. Then her eyes flickered over to me. It wasn't a look of love. It was a quick flash of pity mixed with impatience, the kind of look you give an old appliance you're just waiting to replace. That one look sealed it. This wasn't just about the money. It was about contempt. They saw me as a roadblock on their highway to a life of luxury. Them words, "put her in a home," kept replaying in my head. It wasn't a worried suggestion, it was an eviction notice. I smiled, raised my glass during the speeches, and felt a cold, hard resolve settle deep in my bones. The grieving widow and doting mother had left the building. The woman Robert married, the one he trusted to be smart and tough, was back in charge. The morning after the wedding, Emily called, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Mom, you okay? You seemed so quiet last night." "Just emotional, dear," I said, my own voice a perfect copy of a tired, happy mother. "It was a beautiful, overwhelming day." The second I hung up, I walked into Robert's old study and pulled that thick trust binder from the safe. My very next call was to Mr. Thompson, Robert's lawyer for over 30 years, a man who, just like my husband, understood the darker side of human nature. In his quiet wood-paneled office, I laid it all out, what I heard, what I saw in Emily's eyes. Mr. Thompson didn't even look surprised. He just nodded, his jaw set grim. "I've seen this play out before, Margaret," he said. He pointed to a paragraph in the document. "Robert was insisting on this. He said, 'Margaret can handle herself, but I want to give her the tools. You got the absolute right to use every single penny of that trust for your own welfare. Buy a yacht, start a charity, travel the world. It's entirely your call.'" My plan started clicking into place. It wasn't enough to just cut 'em off. Oh no, I wanted them to build their own trap, and I wanted to watch 'em hand me the rope. So I started to act. I became the woman they expected me to be, a little more forgetful, a little more frail. I'd call James to help me read the fine print on a bill, complaining my eyes weren't what they used to be. I'd misplace my keys, only for Emily to find 'em right where I'd left 'em, sighing with that dramatic patience of hers. Then I dangled the bait. "This old house is just so big and lonely for me now," I sighed to Emily on the phone. "They took that bait faster than a fish on a hook. Mom, we've been so worried about you," she said, her voice full of that phony concern. James jumped in on speakerphone. "You know, some of them new communities are incredible. It's like living in a resort, with 5-star dining and medical staff right there." Within a week, glossy brochures started showing up. Pinecrest Meadows, Willow Creek Estates, fancy assisted living places with entrance fees that could buy a small country. They were so helpful, so eager, they could practically taste it. The house sold, the assets cashed out, and all that money from the trust fast-tracking their inheritance. They were so busy planning my final destination, they never stopped to think I might be planning a journey of my own. The day of reckoning went down in my living room. Emily and James had set up a meeting with a financial advisor they'd hired, plus the director from their top pick, the very fancy Pinecrest Meadows. They walked in beaming, carrying leather folders, thinking they were one signature away from winning. They all sat down at my big dining room table while the advisor spread out a mountain of paperwork. Right as he was about to start his pitch on liquidating my assets, the doorbell rang. I opened it to reveal Mr. Thompson, my lawyer, holding a simple briefcase. "Mr. Thompson," Emily said, completely startled, "what are you doing here?" "Just observing," he said with a pleasant smile, taking a seat at the head of the table, "making sure my client's best interests are looked after." The advisor, flustered, tried to continue. He talked about the $500,000 entrance fee, the monthly costs, selling my house. Finally, he pushed a document and a pen toward me. "If you'll just sign here, Margaret, we can start the process." I let the silence stretch for a moment. Then I looked right at my daughter. "This is what you wanted, right, dear? For me to be safe and comfortable?" Emily nodded eagerly, her eyes shining with pure greed. "Of course, Mom. We just want what's best for you." "Good," I said, a real smile spreading across my face for the first time in months, because I've already made my own arrangements to make sure of that. Mr. Thompson calmly slid his own folder across the table. "You see, Emily, everyone seems to have misunderstood the trust. Think of it as a well intended to sustain Margaret for her entire life. Emily and James were waiting for the day the well ran dry so they could claim the land. They never read the deed, which states that Margaret, as the owner, could redirect the well's entire water supply for her own benefit at any time." He paused to let that sink in. Emily and James just stared, confused. To that end, Mr. Thompson went on, the trust has just completed the purchase of a fully staffed villa in Tuscany, Italy, and a seaside condo in Naples, Florida. A significant portion has also been transferred to establish the Miller Foundation for Elder Justice, a new charity that will fight the financial abuse of seniors. The remaining funds are just enough to cover Mrs. Miller's personal living and travel expenses for the foreseeable future. I looked straight into Emily's eyes, my voice steady and cold. At your wedding, I heard you say you were putting me in a home, so I decided to find a home for myself, a few of 'em actually. You were so worried about my future, I just wanted to put your minds at ease. There's no remainder. There is no payout. The well is dry. The silence in that room was deafening. The financial advisor's mouth was hanging open. James looked like he'd seen a ghost. But Emily, her face went from chalk white to a blotchy, furious red. The tears that filled her eyes weren't from me. They were tears of pure rage. "How could you?" she finally hissed, "after everything we've done for you?" That was it. My composure finally broke, not with tears, but with cold, hard truth. "Everything you've done for yourselves with my money," I shot back. "The degree, the condo, the wedding. You looked at me like I was a winning lottery ticket you were just waiting to cash, an obstacle. My husband was a wise man. He knew this could happen. He put that clause in the trust to protect me from the one thing he couldn't stand, entitlement. He put it there to protect me from you. They tried to argue, to plead, even to threaten, but Mr. Thompson just stood up. The transactions are legal, binding, and irreversible. I believe it's time for all of you to leave Mrs. Miller's house." It's been 6 months since that day. For the first few weeks, my phone blew up with texts and voicemails that swung between desperate apologies and furious rants. I blocked their numbers. I heard through a cousin that their life, which was a house of cards built on the idea of my money, had completely collapsed into a mountain of debt. And me? I spent the autumn in Tuscany learning how to paint. I'm writing this from my porch in Florida, watching the sun set over the Gulf. The Miller Foundation has already taken on its first 5 cases, giving free legal help to seniors being exploited by their own families. I'm not lonely. I'm not a burden. I am free. I didn't do it just for revenge. I did it to honor my husband and to get my own dignity back. They were counting on me to be the sentimental widow who'd do anything for her daughter. They saw me as a pawn in their chess game, forgetting I owned the whole board. They saw a frail old woman standing in the way of their fortune. They just never imagined that if they pushed me, I had the power to redefine the game entirely. Here's what I learned, folks. Sometimes the people closest to you forget that you were there first. They see your love as weakness, your kindness as opportunity. But let me tell you something. Being old don't mean being stupid. It means you've been around long enough to know exactly how the game is played. And if they push you, you don't gotta fight dirty. You just gotta be smarter. Protect what's yours, and never, ever let 'em see you coming. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Drop a comment below and let me know which city you're watching from. I read every single one. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And share this with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late to stand up for yourself. Take care of yourselves, folks, and each other.